The large meeting room fell silent as the doors slid open. Frank Miller walked in with steady steps, his blue diplomatic uniform perfectly pressed. Across the table waited High Commander Vexterra of the Zinger Collective, an 8-foot-tall insect-like being whose compound eyes reflected the room's light in a rainbow of colors. "Welcome, Ambassador Miller," Vexterra said, her voice translated through the small device on Frank's collar. "The Zinger Collective is pleased to formalize Earth's entry into the Galactic Alliance." Frank smiled and bowed slightly. "On behalf of Earth, we are honored to join the community of spacefaring civilizations." The year was 2157, and humanity had finally taken its place among the stars. The signing ceremony was brief but historic. Reporters captured images of Frank and Vexterra touching writing tools to the glowing document. With that simple act, Earth became the newest member of an alliance spanning over 30 star systems. 3 months later, Frank sat in his office on Earth's orbital station, staring at a report with growing concern. His assistant, Ben, stood nearby, waiting for a response. 10 colonists missing from New Horizon in just 2 weeks. Frank asked, looking up from his tablet, and no explanation from local authorities. Ben nodded. All the reports were filed correctly, but Alliance security forces keep saying they're investigating. The families are getting desperate. Frank rubbed his tired eyes. He had been up all night reading similar reports from other frontier colonies. Something wasn't right. "Sir," Ben said quietly, placing a small data chip on the desk, "this came for you." The delivery person wouldn't say who sent it. After Ben left, Frank inserted the chip into his secure reader. His eyes widened as images and documents appeared on screen. The chip contained security logs, transport schedules, and blurry photos of humans being loaded onto unmarked ships. A single message was attached. "Not all Alliance members support these actions." Frank's hand shook slightly as he reached for his communicator. "Get me General Adams at Space Force Command. Tell him it's urgent." 2 days later, Commander Olivia Wright stood at attention in the General's office as he explained her new mission. "This is strictly off the record," General Adams said, his voice low. "Ambassador Miller has evidence that someone in the Alliance might be involved in these disappearances. You and your team will investigate unofficially." Olivia nodded, her short brown hair framing a face that rarely showed emotion. "Who's on my team, sir?" "You'll have Danny Garcia for communications. The kid can hack anything that uses electricity. Lissa Evans will handle xenobiology. She understands alien physiology better than most aliens do. And Peter Collins for security, former Marine, best shot in 3 systems. When do we leave?" "Transport to New Horizon leaves in 6 hours. Ambassador Miller will provide what intelligence he has when you arrive." Later that day, Olivia met her team in the hangar. Danny looked too young to be there, barely 25 with a constant smile despite the serious situation. Lisa was busy studying something on her tablet, her red hair pulled back in a tight bun. Peter stood slightly apart, watching everyone who passed by with careful eyes. "Listen up," Olivia said as they gathered around. "This mission is delicate. People are missing, and we don't know who we can trust. Even other humans on New Horizon might be working with whoever is behind this." "Any idea what we're looking for, Commander?" Lisa asked. Olivia shook her head. "Just patterns. Why these specific colonists? What connects them?" Danny raised his hand slightly. "I checked the initial data. Most of the missing people are young, teens, and young adults." Peter frowned. "Someone's targeting kids. That's what we need to find out," Olivia said, her voice hardening. "And if they are, we're going to bring those kids home and make someone answer for it." As their transport ship lifted off from Earth, none of them realized they were taking the first steps in a crisis that would shake the foundations of the Galactic Alliance itself. The sun was setting on New Horizon when Olivia's team stepped off the transport. The colony was smaller than they expected, just a few thousand people living in dome-shaped buildings spread across a valley. Mountains with purple-tinted peaks rose in the distance. "Not exactly a vacation spot," Danny said, looking around at the dusty landing area. Peter checked his weapon discreetly. "Stay alert. If someone's taking people, they might not like us asking questions." Ambassador Miller's contact, a thin man named Carl, met them at the edge of the settlement. He spoke quickly as he led them to a small building. "I work in colony records," Carl explained. "The official report says 23 people are missing, but my count shows 31. Someone changed the numbers." Inside, Carl showed them files on a screen. "Look at the missing people. Notice anything?" Lisa studied the faces. They're all young. Teenagers mostly. "The oldest is 17, youngest is 12, Carl confirmed. "And there's something else." He pulled up more files. Most of these kids were in special classes. They all scored very high on colony aptitude tests. Olivia leaned closer to the screen. "They're taking the smart ones." The next morning, Olivia split up the team. She and Lisa would talk to families, while Danny accessed the colony's communication systems and Peter checked security measures. At the home of the Fords, Lisa sat quietly with Mrs. Ford as the woman showed her pictures of Samantha, her missing 15-year-old daughter. She was always reading, Mrs. Ford said, wiping tears. The teachers couldn't keep up with her. Sam could solve math problems that confused even the adults. "Did anyone unusual talk to Samantha before she disappeared?" Lisa asked gently. Mrs. Ford nodded slowly. "A woman from the Alliance Education Bureau said Sam qualified for an advanced program. We were excited until..." She couldn't finish. Similar stories came from other families. All mentioned Alliance representatives talking about special programs for gifted children. Meanwhile, Danny sat in their temporary quarters, fingers moving quickly over his portable computer. His face was serious, all his usual jokes forgotten. "Commander, you need to hear this," he said when Olivia returned. He played a recording. The voices were distorted but clear enough. "The human specimens show remarkable neural plasticity. Continue the testing. Focus on subjects with mathematical aptitude. The director wants results before the next council meeting." Danny looked up. This was sent from New Horizon to someone in the Alliance central government 3 days ago. Peter burst into the room before Olivia could respond. A cut ran across his cheek, and his shirt was torn. "Someone doesn't want us looking at the security cameras," he said, catching his breath. "3 guys jumped me when I tried to access the main system. Not locals. They had Alliance security training." Olivia made a quick decision. "We need to go off-grid. The colony's compromised, and we don't know who to trust." "I might know someone who can help," Peter said. "Jack Nelson, ex-military, now runs supply ships to the outer colonies. Not exactly legal, but he knows how to move around without being noticed." "Can you contact him without using colony systems?" Olivia asked. Peter nodded. Jack never uses official channels anyway. That night, they slipped out of the settlement. A small ship waited at an abandoned mining site 5 miles away. A tall man with a scar across his chin stood at the entry ramp. "Peter Collins," the man said with a half-smile. "Still getting into trouble. I see." "Good to see you too, Jack," Peter replied. "We need transport. Quiet transport." Jack looked at the team. "Where to?" "Wherever they're taking those kids," Olivia said. "Can you help us?" Jack's smile disappeared. "Kids, huh? Yeah, I'm in. But you should know, we're going into dangerous space, Alliance territory where humans aren't exactly welcome." "We don't have a choice," Lisa said. "Those children don't have anyone else looking for them." Jack nodded and waved them aboard. As the ship lifted silently into the night sky, Olivia stared out the window at the colony below. Someone powerful was taking human children, and she was determined to find out why. Jack's ship moved silently through space, its identification transmitters turned off. From the outside, it looked like an ordinary cargo vessel, worn and unremarkable. Inside, Olivia and her team prepared for what might be the most dangerous mission of their careers. Callisto Station, Jack said, pointing to a holographic map. My contacts say unusual shipments have been arriving there for months. No official records, high security. If they're holding the kids anywhere, it's there. The station came into view through the forward windows, a massive ring-shaped structure with smaller modules extending outward like spokes. Alliance patrol ships circled it constantly. How do we get in? Danny asked, looking worried at the heavy security. Jack smiled. I make regular deliveries there. Food, supplies, spare parts. They know my ship. Won't they check for passengers? Lisa asked. Not if you're already inside, Jack replied, pointing to several large containers in the cargo hold. Maintenance worker uniforms, identification cards, and equipment. The station has over 5,000 people working there. No one questions repair crews. Hours later, Olivia adjusted her gray uniform as she led her team through the station's service corridors. Jack had dropped them off with the regular cargo and continued to his scheduled delivery point. According to the station layout, Danny whispered, looking at a small screen, the restricted area is 2 levels down. Section 17. They moved carefully, tools in hand, pretending to inspect wall panels whenever someone passed by. Most workers barely glanced at them. In Section 17, the corridors were cleaner, the security tighter. Guards stood at key points, checking identification carefully. We need a distraction, Olivia muttered. Peter nodded. On it. He moved away from the group, disappearing around a corner. Minutes later, alarms blared from a distant part of the station. Several guards ran toward the sound. Now, Olivia ordered, and they quickly approached the remaining guard. Danny held up his fake ID card. Emergency maintenance, he said confidently. Something's wrong with the environmental controls in the research wing. Temperatures dropping fast. The guard hesitated, then nodded and stepped aside. Once inside, they found themselves in a long white corridor with numbered doors. Life signs, Lisa whispered, checking the small device. Multiple humans behind these doors. They moved quickly, opening observation panels on each door. Behind the third one, they saw a teenage boy sitting on a bed, staring at a screen covered in complex equations. That's Kyle Weber, Danny said. Reported missing from New Horizon 3 weeks ago. Further down the corridor, Olivia found a larger room with several teens inside. Through the one-way glass, she could see them performing various tests while Alliance scientists observed and took notes. Lisa managed to open a side door, slipping into what appeared to be a medical room. A young girl with long brown hair was sitting on an examination table. Who are you? The girl asked, eyes widening. I'm Lisa. We're here to help. What's your name? Samantha Ford, the girl replied. Are you from Earth? Lisa nodded. How are they treating you? They're not hurting us, Samantha said quickly. They say we're part of an educational exchange. But something's wrong. They won't let us contact our families, and they get angry when we ask questions. Before Lisa could respond, a voice came over the communication system. Security breach in Section 17. All personnel on alert. They've discovered Peter's distraction, Olivia said, rushing in. We need to move. Lisa turned to Samantha. We'll come back for you. I promise. As they ran for the exit, 3 security guards appeared, weapons drawn. Peter pushed the others behind him and fired first. The guards fell back, but one shot hit Peter in the shoulder. He stumbled, blood soaking his uniform. Leave me, he groaned as Danny and Olivia pulled him along. Not happening, Olivia said firmly. They barely made it back to the rendezvous point. Jack's ship was waiting, engines running. As they lifted off, Alliance patrol ships moved to intercept. Hold on, Jack shouted, pushing the engines to full power. Looking back at the station growing smaller in the distance, Olivia made a silent promise to the children they were leaving behind. They would return, and next time, They wouldn't be leaving empty-handed. Jack's ship landed at a small private docking bay near Earth's diplomatic headquarters. The journey had been tense, with Alliance patrol ships following them for several hours before turning back. "How's Peter?" Olivia asked as Lisa finished changing the bandage on his shoulder. "I'll live," Peter said, wincing, "but I'm not winning any shooting competitions soon." Danny looked up from his computer. "I've processed the data we collected. It's worse than we thought. They have at least 50 human children at that facility, maybe more at other locations." Olivia nodded grimly. "We need to get this to Ambassador Miller immediately." Frank Miller was in his office when they arrived. His face grew darker as they played the recordings and showed him images of the facility. "The neural scans, the cognitive tests," Frank said, shaking his head. "They're studying the children like lab animals." Samantha Ford said they weren't being physically harmed. Lisa added, "But they're isolated, frightened, and being lied to about why they're there." Frank stood up suddenly. "This goes beyond normal diplomatic channels. We need someone on the inside of the Alliance power structure." He pressed a button on his desk. "Get me a secure line to Counselor Trell, please." An hour later, a tall, slender alien with blue-gray skin and large, expressive eyes sat across from them. Counselor Trell of the Medusan species listened silently as Olivia explained what they had discovered. "This is deeply troubling," Trell said finally, his voice musical and calm despite the serious topic. "These operations are not sanctioned by the full Alliance Council. I can assure you of that." "Then who's behind it?" Frank demanded. "The Scientific Advancement Directorate," Trell said, "led by Director Kraz of the Arcturians. He has been pushing for more aggressive research into species development. The Council has rejected his more extreme proposals, but it seems he is proceeding anyway." "We need to stop him," Olivia said. "Those children need to go home." Trell's large eyes blinked slowly. "Director Kraz has many powerful allies. Going through normal channels could take months, and the evidence might mysteriously disappear." "What do you suggest?" Frank asked. "Supreme Leader Zolvik of the Xenorians," Trell replied. "He chairs the Alliance Ethics Committee and has been a strong voice for species rights. If anyone can act quickly and decisively, it's him." Peter leaned forward. "And how do we reach a Supreme Leader?" "Walk up to his door and knock." "Actually," Trell said, reaching into his robe and pulling out a small crystal, "I can arrange a private audience. My security clearance gives me direct access to council members in emergency situations." Frank looked uncertain. This could be seen as going outside proper diplomatic channels. Earth is still new to the Alliance. We could face serious consequences. "Those kids are facing consequences right now," Danny said quietly. Olivia placed her hand on the table. "Ambassador, we saw those children. They're scared and alone. Every day we wait is another day they think no one is coming for them." Frank took a deep breath and nodded. "Set up the meeting, Counselor." 2 days later, Frank and Olivia stood in a private transport heading toward the Central Alliance Administrative Complex. Trell sat across from them, going over the plan one last time. "Supreme Leader Zolvik values directness," he explained. "Present your evidence clearly. Do not exaggerate, but do not hold back the truth either." "Will he help us?" Olivia asked. "Xenorians are known for their strict emotional control," Trell said, "but they are also known for their deep sense of justice. If your evidence is as compelling as I believe it is, you will have his attention." The transport slowed as it approached a massive structure that resembled a giant crystal hive. Guards stood at every entrance, weapons ready. "Remember," Trell said as the doors opened, "we are bypassing normal protocols. If we are discovered before reaching Zolvik, we could all face serious consequences." Frank straightened his diplomatic uniform. "Some risks are worth taking." As they walked toward the entrance, Olivia couldn't help but think about Samantha Ford and the other children. Soon, they would face one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy, Everything depended on how he would react to their evidence. The inner chambers of the Alliance headquarters were silent as Trell led Frank and Olivia through polished hallways. Guards stood at attention, their eyes following the unusual group. Peter had insisted on coming despite his injury, and now walked slightly behind them, his hand never far from his concealed weapon. Supreme Leader Zolvik's private office is just ahead, Trell whispered. He has agreed to meet us between official sessions. The doors slid open to reveal a spacious room with high ceilings. Standing by a large window was Supreme Leader Zolvik of the Xenorians. Nearly 9 feet tall, his insect-like body was covered in a shimmering exoskeleton of deep green. Multiple arms were folded carefully across his chest, and large compound eyes turned to watch them enter. "Counselor Trell," Zolvik said, his voice surprisingly soft for such a large being. "These are the humans you mentioned." "Yes, Supreme Leader," Trell bowed slightly. "Ambassador Frank Miller and Commander Olivia Wright of Earth." Zolvik moved closer, studying them carefully. "You claim to have evidence of serious ethical violations. This is not a small accusation." Frank stepped forward, offering the data crystal. "Everything we've discovered is here. Supreme Leader, we believe someone in the Alliance is holding human children for unauthorized experiments." The Xenorian took the crystal with delicate movements. For several minutes, he stood completely still as he reviewed the information through his neural interface. The only sign of his reaction was a slight vibration in his wing casings. "These children," Zolvik said finally. "They are your young ones, still developing." Olivia nodded. "Yes, all under 18 Earth years, still many years from full maturity." Something changed in Zolvik's posture. His breathing quickened, and they are isolated, kept from their communal nurturing groups. "They'd been separated from their families for months," Peter added, "told lies about why they're there." The Supreme Leader's normally smooth movements became jerky. He turned away, placing the crystal on a nearby table with such force that it cracked. "I must verify this personally," he said, his voice different now, higher, faster. "We will convene an emergency session immediately." Within an hour, Frank and Olivia found themselves in the Grand Council chamber. Representatives from 30 species sat in tiered seats around a central platform. Director Kraz of the Scientific Advancement Directorate stood confidently at the center, his tall, thin body draped in official robes. "Supreme Leader, this emergency session is highly irregular," Kraz was saying as they entered. "If the humans have concerns, there are proper channels." He stopped speaking as Zolvik moved onto the platform. Something was clearly wrong. The Supreme Leader's exoskeleton had changed color, shifting from green to a deep crimson. His wings were vibrating audibly, creating a humming sound that filled the chamber. Junior Xenorian aides backed away quickly. Trell leaned toward Frank and whispered urgently, "This is not good. I've never seen a Xenorian lose control like this." Zolvik raised several of his arms, projecting images from the data crystal onto the chamber's main screens. The room fell silent as everyone saw the human children in containment units, undergoing tests. Director Kraz, Zolvik's voice had changed completely, becoming a deep, resonating sound that seemed to vibrate through the floor. "Explain this." Kraz straightened. "Merely educational research, Supreme Leader. The human specimens are providing valuable data on cognitive development." "Specimens." Zolvik's body expanded slightly, his breathing chambers filling with air. A strong scent filled the room, causing several council members to move back in their seats. Rising to his full height, the Supreme Leader's massive form seemed to loom over everyone. When he spoke, his voice thundered through the chamber. "You jailed human children." The words echoed off the walls. Council members froze in shock. No one had ever heard a Xenorian raise their voice, let alone shout. Director Kraz stepped back, suddenly looking afraid. "It's simply research." Silence. Zolvik's wings flared out to their full span. "Do you know nothing of Xenorian values, of what the larval development phase means to us, of the sacred nature of young minds?" The chamber was completely still now, everyone staring at the unprecedented display of emotion from the normally controlled Zenorian leader. Frank looked at Olivia, hope rising for the first time. They had found their ally, and he was more powerful than they could have imagined. The council chamber remained silent after Zolvik's outburst. Director Kraz looked around nervously, suddenly aware that he had no allies in the room. By the authority of the Ethics Committee, Zolvik continued, his voice still vibrating with emotion, I am ordering the immediate release of all human children from Alliance research facilities. The Supreme Leader turned to a group of uniformed officials standing near the door. Captain, deploy peacekeepers to Callisto Station and any other locations identified in this data. Secure the facilities and ensure the safety of the human children. Yes, Supreme Leader, the captain responded, quickly leaving with his team. Director Kraz began edging toward a side exit. Peter Collins, despite his injured shoulder, moved quickly to block his path. Going somewhere, Director? Peter asked, standing tall despite the pain. Kraz's thin face showed anger. You have no authority to stop me, human. No, said a new voice, but I do. Counselor Trell stepped forward, displaying his council's security badge. Director Kraz, you are confined to Alliance headquarters pending investigation. More security officers arrived, surrounding the director. His shoulders slumped in defeat as they led him away. Zolvik's color was slowly returning to normal, though his wings still vibrated occasionally. He approached Frank and Olivia. Ambassador Miller, Commander Wright, he said, his voice quieter now. On behalf of the Alliance Council, I offer our deepest apologies for what has happened to your young ones. Frank nodded respectfully. What happens now, Supreme Leader? The Council will meet in emergency session to address these violations, Zolvik replied. But first, we must focus on the children. Olivia stepped forward. I request permission to join the peacekeepers, sir. I promised those kids we'd come back for them. The Zenorian leader studied her for a moment, then nodded. Granted, Commander. Your team has earned the right to see this through. Hours later, Olivia stood on the command deck of an Alliance peacekeeping vessel as it approached Callisto Station. Peter, his arm in a proper medical sling now, stood beside her. Danny and Lisa worked with Alliance officers to identify all areas where children might be held. Multiple life signs confirmed in Section 17. An officer reported. Human biosignatures. The station offered no resistance. Word of Director Kraz's arrest had spread quickly, and most of the staff surrendered immediately. Olivia led the first team into the children's quarters. The faces that looked back at her showed confusion and fear. I'm Commander Olivia Wright, she announced clearly. We're here to take you home. A girl with long brown hair pushed through the crowd. You came back, Samantha Ford said, her eyes wide with surprise. You really came back. I keep my promises, Olivia replied with a smile. Back at Alliance headquarters, the Council voted unanimously to dissolve the Scientific Advancement Directorate. In its place, they established an oversight committee with representatives from all member species, including humans. This incident has revealed a serious flaw in our system, Zolvik announced to the Council. No species should fear for the safety of their young ones within our alliance. Frank Miller was asked to appoint Earth's representative to the new committee. Commander Olivia Wright, he said without hesitation. She's already proven her commitment to protecting the vulnerable. As the children were prepared for transport back to Earth, Alliance medical specialists worked alongside human doctors to evaluate their condition. To everyone's relief, there appeared to be no lasting physical harm, though many would need time to recover from the emotional trauma. Peter watched as Samantha Ford spoke with her parents via video link for the first time in months. The tears and smiles on both sides made his own eyes water. Worth getting shot for, he said quietly. Olivia nodded, standing beside him. 100%. That evening, as the first transport of children prepared to depart for Earth, Zolvik made a rare personal appearance to see them off. The children stared in fascination at the towering insectoid being. Samantha Ford approached him cautiously. Thank you for helping us. "Sir." The Supreme Leader lowered himself to her level, a gesture of great respect in Zenorian culture. "It is I who must thank you," he said gently. "You have reminded our alliance of what matters most." 6 months passed since the children returned to Earth. The story of their rescue had spread across human colonies, transforming how people viewed the alliance. What had begun as distrust was slowly changing to cautious optimism. On a sunny morning in the central plaza of United Earth headquarters, crowds gathered for a historic occasion. Supreme Leader Zolvik was making his first official visit to Earth. Olivia, now wearing the uniform of an admiral, stood on the stage with Frank Miller and other officials. She spotted familiar faces in the front rows. Peter, his shoulder fully healed. Danny and Lisa, both now working for the new Human-Alien Relations Department. And Jack Nelson, looking uncomfortable in formal clothes. Most importantly, many of the rescued children were present with their families. Samantha Ford sat between her parents, watching everything with bright, curious eyes. A hush fell over the crowd as Zolvik's ship landed. The massive Zenorian emerged, followed by several aides. His exoskeleton shimmered emerald green in Earth's sunlight. "People of Earth," Zolvik's voice carried easily across the plaza. "I come today not just as a representative of the Alliance, but as one who seeks genuine understanding between our worlds." He turned toward the families of the rescued children. "To those who suffered because of our failures, I offer the deepest apologies of the Zenorian people and the Alliance Council. What happened was wrong, and we are committed to ensuring it never happens again." Zolvik then revealed a small crystal sphere that glowed with soft blue light. "Today, I announce the creation of the Interspecies Youth Exchange Program. Unlike the false program used to deceive you, this will be a true exchange of knowledge and culture, where young minds from all species can learn from each other with full transparency and family involvement." Samantha Ford stood up suddenly. Her parents looked surprised but didn't stop her as she walked to the stage. Zolvik's aides moved forward protectively, but the Supreme Leader waved them back. "I have a question," Samantha said, her voice clear despite her nerves. "I would be honored to hear it," Zolvik replied, lowering himself to her level as he had done on the transport ship. "Why do Zenorians care so much about children? You got really angry when you found out what happened to us." A soft murmur ran through the crowd. Such a direct question might seem rude, but Zolvik's compound eyes seemed to show approval. "An excellent question," he replied. "Zenorians begin life as thousands of larvae in communal pools, all connected mentally. Our earliest memories are of shared thoughts and feelings. To isolate a developing mind is, to us, the greatest cruelty imaginable. When I saw what happened to you and the others, I felt as though it were happening to my own larval kin." Samantha considered this. "So we're kind of like your family now." Something remarkable happened then. The massive alien leader made a sound no human had heard before, a soft, gentle vibration that those close by realized was laughter. "Yes," Zolvik said. "Perhaps that is the simplest way to understand it." After the ceremony, Admiral Wright watched as Samantha introduced 2 young Zenorian larvae to human children her age. Despite their vastly different appearances, they were soon engaged in a game that combined human chess with a Zenorian strategy ritual. Frank Miller joined her, smiling at the scene. 6 months ago, I would have said this was impossible. Children adapt quickly," Olivia replied. "They don't carry the same fears we do." In the following months, the Interspecies Youth Program flourished. Samantha and several other teens who had been held captive discovered they had developed unique abilities to understand Zenorian thought patterns. They became the first human xenolinguists capable of truly grasping alien communication systems. Admiral Wright was appointed Earth's representative on the new Alliance Security Council. During her first official meeting, she proposed a simple but powerful principle that was unanimously adopted. The protection of all developing minds, regardless of species, shall be the highest priority of the Alliance. As ships carrying the first official group of human exchange students departed Earth, Zolvik stood beside Olivia in the observation deck. From crisis comes opportunity. the Zenorian leader said quietly. And from understanding comes peace, Olivia added, watching the ships disappear into the stars.